Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Billy Guns movie review. I'm your host, Billy Guns, and today we're going to be going through the greatly anticipated Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Was it a total letdown, or is it the best video game adapted movie in the history of all time? Before we dive into the movie, let's talk a little about the franchise itself. The whole idea of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise was created by the man Scott Cawthon, who is one of the creative directors for the movies and creator of the games himself. Right now, he has about 10 games under his belt, as well as plenty of books to just build the lore from the ground up. We went from thinking in the first game that these killings about the kids was based on real pizzerias, to now actually having real names in the games and that contribute to the actual lore behind the movie. But enough about that. Let's dive into the first impressions of the movie. As of recording this right now, it's been about 2 days since I've last seen the movie, and I gotta say, I freaking loved this movie. It was really, really, really good. The casting was almost perfect for some of these characters. The connection to just the mainline story, some theories got confirmed. Some people, made it to the movie that honestly no one was expecting, including some characters that I'll get on about a little later into the review. But for initial impressions, this is almost as good as it gets. It is, I think, in my humble opinion, one of the best video game adaptation to movies out there. I think the only thing that could probably top this would be the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and that's because it had the luxury of being fully animated. Now, let's talk about plot and characters. So this movie has our main protagonist, Mike Schmidt. He is always a guy who seems to be down on his luck. He rarely has things go right his way. Even at the beginning of the movie, we realize that as a kid, his brother was taken away and was never found. And he doesn't really talk about it, but it's one of the driving factors on why he is the way he is. After a string of bad luck, he meets a character that we get to know a little bit more called Steve Raglan. He offers Mike a job at a local pizzeria that's been shut down since the 80s. That pizzeria is none other than Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The hours are crap, but the pay is even worse. So, Mike at first doesn't take the job, but once realizes that he needs to support his sister, he knows that he has to take this job. Alright, now with the main plot kind of out the way, I do have to get into some spoilers, so this is the one and only spoiler warning. If you have not seen this movie and you are a diehard fan, please, please, please go see this movie, no matter what. Alright? I'm giving you to the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Alright? Everyone here? Everyone see the movie? Alright, let's get into it. This movie was so good, but at some points was not great. Let's talk about the goods first. Let's talk about the pros about this movie. The soundtrack for this movie was absolutely killer. I believe the soundtrack is up there in terms of video games, in terms of just movies, video game nerdy type of movies. It has one of my favorite soundtracks out there. It was a very good soundtrack. The soundtrack for Springtrap, the soundtrack just at the end of the movie, the Living Tombstone, that one was, oh my god, it was really good. Theater experience was out of this world and just was overall very good. I did like some of the cameos that were in there too. Corey X Kenshin, we saw him in the trailer. Everyone kind of knew about that. But what I didn't know about was frickin' MatPat, dude. I was not seeing that coming at all. I was flabbergasted when I saw this man. I literally was pointing and screaming. I was like, "Was that MatPat?" And everyone in the theater started abruptly screaming. Everyone was roaring. Everyone, as soon as he finished his line, as soon as he said,
that's just a theory.
Everyone was clapping, going crazy. It was amazing. It was just perfect. What else? I mean, Springtrap in of itself, very good. I do want to kind of mention this too. The animatronics looked spot on. It literally looked like they just ripped them straight from the game and put them into the movie. It was absolutely fantastic. People had some doubts about how Springtrap was looking before the movie came out, and I'm going to be honest, I stuck with my guns. I knew he was going to look good in the movie. Everyone else was kind of iffy about it. I knew he was going to be good. There were some references to his older stuff that he did. I don't know if you've seen Scream 1. I could throw a clip on right here. I believe it's Stu. He does the knife swipe as Ghostface in Scream 1. And in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, he also does the same thing, the knife swipe as Springtrap.
I'm finished!
Just speaking of Springtrap, there was a plot twist regarding him on how Vanny was actually William Afton's daughter. So that was just a crazy plot twist. Did not see that coming. And that also explains some of the intentions that Vanny had within the game, specifically Security Breach, because she was just messing with Gregor and we had no idea what the hell she was on about. So now that that's out the way, I do want to talk about William Afton's iconic line of
I always come back.
Was also in this movie. As soon as I heard this, everyone and their mom was screaming. The reference for that was also from, I believe, Five Nights at Freddy's Pizza Simulator. I'll play the clip right here.
I always come back.
And then there is also the clip straight from the movie, which I'll also play here.
I always come back.
Pretty cool, right? Alright, continuing on. I almost forgot to talk about the negatives in this movie. I think the only real negative that I had was, unfortunately, the memes were kind of true. It was at one point kind of like, together we are FNAF, but not really. It was just, they did have like the slumber party scene, and you know, I was cringing hard. But I did hear a theory, and it does make sense looking back on it. The whole reason why Freddy and the gang were doing that was probably because not only Vanny probably commanded them to do that, but at the same time it was to get Mike's trust and lower his guard down, just in the same way how he let his guard down when William Afton took his brother. So in that way he was just falling for the same thing again and didn't even realize it. It's almost like you gotta take the good with the bad. So I believe that was probably the worst part about the movie. I think the only other bad thing I would have to say is like I wish, William Afton had a little bit more screen time. But like I said, with the bad comes the good. The reason why I believe he wasn't on screen that much is probably because like we see with William Afton in the games, he's not really on screen all that much because he's always working in the background. He works in the shadows. He doesn't really like to be seen. And whenever he is seen, it's not for long. And it's not even in person. He's usually in the background, like specifically the minigames. Like if you look at the FNAF 2 minigame, William Afton pulls in with the car, the girl was outside, I believe it was Emily, Henry's daughter was outside, and William came in, killed her, drove off. And then we got I believe it was the puppet jump scare if I remember correctly. Signifying the fact that Emily was the one who died and was, mixed with the puppet, but I'm also going into different games and stuff when we're talking about the movie. So now that we're all on the same page again, let's talk about the comparison from the movie to the game. I do want to say it mainly focuses on FNAF 1 in terms of kind of the storyline and location, but it also at the same time takes different characters from different games and throws them into this movie. For example, Steve Raglan, who is the suspicious character, spoiler alert, I will say this right now, is William Afton, and William Afton is in several of the games and books that we've seen so far. He's also been known as the Purple Guy, and he's also been just seen throughout so much of the series so far. We also have Vanessa as well, aka Vanny. She has been a recent contribution to the story from Security Breach. She's also in there too. Mike Schmidt is from the first game, and then we have characters from the books. I believe Mike's sister's name is Abby, and I believe Abby is from the first book, The Silver Eyes. I don't really know that much about the books, so I can't really give you the knowledge behind that, but I do know that she is one of the main characters in there. But, like I said, comparison to the games, Specifically the games, it does focus on FNAF 1 the most. Compared to the other tidbits I like to say, they're more focused on, I believe, maybe grabbing the newer generation and kind of fitting them with the older generation of FNAF fans so everyone can kind of collapse together and enjoy this movie. But in terms of, just in short, this movie does focus on FNAF 1 as a whole. So, now to my final rating / kind of the end part of this video. Is this movie worth the hype? And I would like to say, without a doubt, yes. This movie is 100% worth the hype. It is, for FNAF fans, a love letter to the series. It's such a good movie. Even with its flaws, you can still kind of mold it into pros. I believe, at the end of the day, I don't think this is the best video game adapted movie of all time. That one goes to the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I think that's because of the fact that that one is animated, but at the same time, this one is literally a contender for number 2. And I do not see that changing anytime soon, so I'm just going to stick with that. But with that being said, if I had to put it at a rank 1 through 10, this is easily getting an 8 out of 10. Even with its flaws, people would probably try to give it a 6, people might give it a 7. I believe it's a strong 8, and it's not even close. To its music, to William Afton, to the character design, to the design of the animatronics, the practical effects, the character development, everything gives it the 8 out of 10 that it deserves. Just the togetherness of everyone in that theater, I wouldn't give it up for anything. It was such a fantastic experience, and it was unbelievable. But with that being said, if you're looking at this for like a jump scare junkie, I guess is the right word, you are not going to like this movie. I promise you, it's going to be, you're going to think it's cheesy, you're going to think there's just some stupid one-liners in there that don't make sense. Nothing is going to make sense. So, if I'm looking at it as a horror movie fan, I would rate it significantly lower. But since I'm looking at it as a FNAF fan, it is definitely one of the best adaptations I've seen in a very, very long time.
Hello? That's gonna be a wrap for today's review. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What'd you think? What was your favorite moment? Let me know. And until next time, I've been your host, Billy Guns. I hope you have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and or good night. And I hope to see every single one of you lovely individuals on the flip side.